live, brother. We're live, brother. So, do you like to go by Ethan or you like to go by Bubba? Or how did Bubba come
Either either one is it's not preferred between the two. So if you want to call me Ethan, you can call me Ethan or Bubba. I don't care.
about?
Either
Okay,
one is fine.
either one is fine. So, how did Bubba come about? How did that start? How did everything?
So the name Bubba as well, the whole name Bubba Bass was actually a name that was derived within my immediate family. I'm a middle child. I have one younger sister and an older sister. It was my younger sister's idea. So this dated way back 5 years ago. 5 years ago when I was 15. I started my YouTube channel for the first time,
Yeah.
and we were trying to figure out a name,
Uh-huh.
because it was kind of the thing where I was like, oh, I gotta have some kind of cool name or something.
Right.
And growing up,
Right.
growing up, my little sister always called me Bubba as a nickname for the word brother.
Oh,
So that
okay.
name came about, and then of course I was already playing bass at the time. I started 13, and this is fast forward to when I was 15, and then
Yeah.
that's when she was like, how about Bubba Bass, because she always calls me Bubba, and because I play bass, you put them together and bam, it all just clicked like that.
Oh shit. Oh wow. Oh, okay. So there's a significance behind it. There's some
Pretty
family.
much, yeah, it was all just significance. Pretty much all of it all just fell into place just like that, and I was like, that is actually one of the best names I think I've ever heard as far as like the stage name
Yeah.
agenda goes.
Yeah. It's very unique. It's very unique. It's I think
Very
it's
and hell, I've even looked across the internet to make sure that it was completely original, even because I don't want to go around taking someone else's name and being like, oh shit, I'm a copycat. But
yeah.
I went
Yeah.
scouring all around, and I didn't see no results of like any other bass player that
Yeah.
had that name. So I was like, okay, I'm taking it. This is my name, and this is
Yeah.
gonna be the name till the day I die. That's it.
All right, that's cool, man. Yeah, yeah. Because and it's so funny that you mentioned like I don't want to be a copycat. It's like, dude, when I would do when I came with Mad Mayhem, I was like, oh, okay, it's kind of cool because it kind of like the first letters kind of rhyme. It kind of just goes together, right? It kind of flows.
Right.
Yeah, and then now I'm looking, and now I'm realizing that you know, it's kind of common. So I was like, fuck. Like
Yeah.
there's a UFC fighter, and then there's like, there's another artist by the name of Dave. So I'm like, oh, I don't know what's gonna happen with that. I see what's up.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you come about bass, dude? I got to hear it from one bass player to another. Where did it start, dude? Where did it begin? Where did the itch come from?
So I was not playing bass the first time when I started playing. I was actually a guitar player.
Okay. Oh,
Um, I started playing all the way back. I'm gonna go all the way back here. This is I was as young as 8 years old. Not kidding. 8 years
oh,
old. I got my first guitar. 12. I think I was like 10 or 11. I finally got to, as I would say, turn on the distortion and
yeah.
played electric for the first time. And at the time, I was also homeschooled, so having access to the internet, I
Right.
was able to easily look up stuff because I wanted to learn everything inside and out about guitar, or even before when I knew about bass. I wanted to know everything on how to change the strings, how to tune it, how to clean the thing, how to keep it maintained, how to play it, the
Yeah.
different techniques, all of that.
Yeah.
And then every now and then, at the time when I was on my computer or whatever, I would just go onto Google and just search up the crazy futuristic looking shapes of the guitars that exist. Like
Yeah.
I would gaze at guitars like the Gibson Flying V, or the SG, or the ESP Snakebite, the James Hetfield signature.
Oh,
That
sure.
was
Yeah.
one of the craziest guitars I saw at the time. And then of course, as I'm scrolling, there was one image that I saw. It was a bass guitar, and it
Mm.
was just a classic, like, I wouldn't say classic, kind of like a cheap off-branded P bass with a
Okay.
Stratocaster black and white. And then I saw this other related images, because like you'll click on the image and it shows related images. I see
Uh-huh.
this one I see this other one, and I see this guy's hands and this red bass that looked like really souped up, as my 12-year-old brain presumed. And
Uh-huh.
lo and behold, it was Billy Sheehan on Mr. Big in 2009 playing
Oh
on
shit.
his signature Yamaha bass.
Yeah.
And I checked that video out, and I'm just watching Billy just digging into it and just shredding his ass off, and I'm like, I want to do that.
I want to do that.
That is that was the instrument that I wanted to play because I loved the different kind of vibe that I got off the lower notes than what you would get from like a regular show. Like sure, there's a lot of great sounding solos out there of guitar players when they're going up on the high register, you know.
Of
But
course.
with the lower register, there was just something that clicked to me when it comes to hearing the difference of lower notes on a bass to the
Yeah.
high notes on a guitar, that I was like, that's the one.
Correct.
Bass is the one that sold it for me. And then I'm just hearing the sound that Billy Sheehan was getting when I was watching that video.
Yeah,
That's where I wanted to play bass right then and there. And I told my mom, Ma, I want to play bass. I want to do this.
Right on, dude.
And
Right on.
lo and behold, Christmas time, that's when I got my first bass.
Nice. Yeah, because I think he's been so significant. He's been so influential, right? Billy Sheehan, and just
Yeah.
in like it doesn't matter what genre of music you're in, metal or jazz or whatever.
Right.
People know him. People just like gravitate to him, dude. And like dude,
Right.
just you're talking about that live footage from Mr. Big, right? When he's on stage. And
Yeah.
yeah, he's in Japan or something like that, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
Dog barking. Will you shut up?
It's all good.
Sorry,
I know,
the dog is being a little noisy.
It's all good. No. I just had to put my two little ones outside too. So don't worry.
Yeah.
First base, dude. Well, okay, so what was your first base?
My first bass, actually, funny enough, was that same off-brand P bass that I was looking at on Google. It was some company called BC, but not BC as in BC Rich. You know, BC Rich is completely different from this other brand. But yeah, it was just some like cheap Chinese copy of a precision bass. You know, just the typical split humbucker, passive electronics, all that jazz. And later on that bass, it was for at least the beginner level was somewhat decent, because of course at the time I didn't know a lot about the tuning, if it was any different, or how to set up my guitar. I didn't know anything about that, so I had to do the same thing like I said when I was playing guitar at first. I needed to learn everything about it, so I knew how to change strings, knew how to replace them, cleaning it, everything.
Yeah. So you've gotten, like, safe to say you've gotten intimate with the instrument, dude. Like with me, like, to be honest, I have no idea. Like to change, I get too stupid. I get too worried, dude. Because I had my first bass too was an Epiphone. It was like an Epiphone P bass. It was just again like a knockoff, right?
Yeah.
And it was just not. I just messed around with it and I broke it. Yeah. I've been
Yep.
ever since, man. I've been traumatized.
Oh my God.
Since. I mean, intimate with it.
Yeah, I really grown intimate with my instruments, because the very first time where I realized that I needed to, as my mom say, take care of it, like if it was your own child or if it was a car.
Yeah.
And actually, I think she said like it was a car, because I'm such a gearhead. I am such a car fanatic as well. So
right on.
I liked watching races and going to car shows every now and then. So my mom told me, after getting it fixed for the first time, and the very first time that happened, it was the nut that chipped. And it was a bone nut, so it was very hard to replace. So I took it down to Guitar Center. Mom paid for it, and she was like, "Okay, now we got it fixed. You got to take care of it like it's a car."
Oh yeah.
So that at that point, that's where I started taking it very seriously. And yeah, taking care of my instruments is a big deal, because say 10 years in the future, and if I'm out on tour and I never learn how to take care of my instruments, and I don't have anybody to help me out with that, I'd be fucked.
Yeah.
Because I could be having a show that day and I don't have any working instruments. I'm fucked. I can't perform.
Yeah. So you're just gonna have freaking guitar and drums and the singer, and then
right. It wouldn't be a full band.
Yeah.
Like I would be out of the show.
Yeah.
If anything, there wouldn't be a show because without the bass player, there's no low end, there's no heaviness.
Oh yeah. Dude, they hate us because they ain't us, man. We
right.
They make the jokes about bass players so much, like, oh, he's just a bass player.
Bass players are just failed guitarists.
Yeah. Like, dude, like
that is one of the cringiest ones I've ever heard. Like, how does me being a bass player make me a failed guitarist? I just wanted to switch from one instrument to the other.
Dude, and they're both fundamentally, important. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it's so funny how they
have their similarities, but they also have their differences.
Of course.
That doesn't make them. That doesn't make one instrument better than the other.
It doesn't make any sense. It's like comparing apples to oranges. You know what I mean?
Literally. It's literally apples and oranges. Exactly.
Yeah. It's fruit. It doesn't matter, People,
right.
It's instruments. They're all tools, man. That's cool.
They're both in the same category, but they have their own different tastes.
Yeah. I mean, because I started out on drums. I started out on drums before I went to bass. Yeah, so I was really heavy, I mean, and you've probably seen my stuff too. Like, I'm all at the Sabbath.
I've actually checked out a couple of your isolated tracks, and that isolated bass, that's a JS3 concert bass you have.
Yes, sir. Yeah. She's right here. She's literally right
Oh
here.
hell yeah. That's I listened to that isolated bass track of yours, and let me tell you, that tone is meaty as hell. That tone was meaty as hell.
Thank you, brother. No. I appreciate, dude. Hey, hearing it from you, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
No, and I think that's what we strive for, right? Because like how you said, you're more of a gearhead, and then again, we could talk about this too, but like I'm more of a tone chaser, and then people have such a like negative connotation, like, oh, dude, you care about the tone. Well, yeah, man. I mean, wouldn't you care about the tone? Don't you want to care how you
sound? Because yeah, right. Like it's and just all of a sudden just plug in and turn it up with like absolutely no presets at all and just assume it sounds good.
Exactly.
And that's the purpose of tone.
Exactly. And I gotta throw you back the compliment, brother, because that I think you did a cover. You did a Megadeth cover. I think it was the new release one that they did with Lamb of God. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm drawing.
Wake Up Dead.
Wake Up Dead.
It was Wake Up Dead.
Correct. But you got something dialed in with that Dave Ellefson tone. You got something clear as day, dude. And a lot of bass players, and we could talk about this too. Like a lot of bass players use a pick, but you still can't hear anything. You know what I mean? You still recognition. So I mean, how do you get your tone? What is something that you're like, dude? Let me throw some salt, some pepper, some. How are you cooking?
Right? That? Yeah. So here's what I'm cooking up. There's something that I created for myself, which are my 4 defining tone factors on how I find my tone. The first thing I find on how I find my tone is the instrument I use. So that means the electronics, the type of wood it's made with, all of that stuff. The second factor is my type of strings. Okay. Number 3 is the type of pedals and amp if I use. If I choose to use pedals or not, because there are some bass players that do have great tones without any pedals. David Ellefson, for example, he doesn't use any pedals. He just takes his Jackson concert basses straight into the amp. And then, of course, the final factor is the playing style. So whether if you're a finger player or a pick player like myself, I play with a pick because I like that high-end chime, and it has a very sturdy attack with my tone.
I want to compare your tone not only to Dave Ellefson but also Dee from Overkill. I don't know if you're familiar with his.
Yeah.
Dee, nice, clean, like twangy tone. Where I think him and Dave Ellefson kind of really reinvented like metal bass for thrash players. Because it's up there. So I would want to compare yours too.
Yeah, there's actually one more bass player that I do want to include, who's actually my biggest one of all of the bass players that I have idolized throughout my bass playing career. Pretty much are all
Yeah.
pick players. Spoiler alert! But the biggest one to me was Jason Newsted of Metallica.
Really? Okay.
Jason was the man for me.
Yeah.
And so for my tone, let's go through my four factors. One, the type of bass. I use Jackson basses mainly because of David Ellison. I loved the very crisp high end they put with also like everything is just balanced with
Oh yeah.
Jackson. They have the perfect amount of low, mids, and highs no matter how you would set it. Like
Yep.
both you and I have Jacksons. They both have humbuckers with a 3-band EQ. My bass has that same exact stuff. It's got 2 humbuckers with a 3-band EQ. Also, mine actually has a what's called a coil tab.
That's
And
right.
so basically what that does is chooses to use either 2 of the individual coils within each pickup or pretty much all 4 of them when I want to go full humbucker mode.
Yeah, and that's
But
how you get that. That's how you get that nice clarity, right? That's from your
exact,
side.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have a thing with basses where if I have a bass that has a plethora of options, and if I can get a good sound using everything on that bass, I'm going to use all of it. If I have a 3-band EQ and more than one pickup, I'm going to use all of it
Nice.
and etch it around with whatever I can here. And that's what I do with my current bass right now. It's the JS3 Spectra model.
Okay.
I have it on full humbucker mode with the 3-band EQ turned all the way up. And other than that, it is active. It is active, obviously. So it's got that 9-volt.
That's where we differ. That's where we differ. You know, and I love that though. I love that because some to get that clarity, like Dave Elson, like you got to have that active. You got to have
The
that.
active, yeah, the
You
active electronic. Yeah, that's what makes the difference.
exactly. And with me, I'm like, look, I'm not. For finger player, I'm like, you don't really need it. You don't need that much power. You know what I mean? Because I mean, for me,
Right, because all the power would just be right in your fingers.
exactly. So that's why when I have passive and because my Razorback, my dime Razorback bass is active, and it's too hot.
Right, because
She
it's got
felt.
that single humbucker pickup plugged in, and it's gonna be screaming.
Yeah, I could plug it in. It's already screaming. No plugins or nothing. No amps. No nothing. It's already screaming. And I'm like, oh my god. For me, the way I'm playing, you're gonna get a lot of hiss, a lot of nastiness. It's just not gonna be
Right.
good. Yeah. So with you
Yeah,
guys, I
that
think
was
it's perfect.
yeah, and that was actually the issue that I had at first from the first few bases that I've been through before I got this base that I have now. I
Okay.
was a big PJ lover, so
Yeah.
the PJ configuration was like the sweet spot for me. And you can
Yeah.
see that from a lot of my TikTok videos as well as my YouTube channel. You see that the majority of my videos uses one bass that is the PJ configuration, which was my JS2 Spectra, which was
Yeah.
one of the early models that Jackson put out for the Spectra line back in 2019 before COVID hit.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I tried out one of those guys. It is active, but all it has is just a simple bass boost. There's no 3-band EQ or
Okay.
two.
Yeah.
It's got the normal volume, pickup selector, and the
Okay.
bass boost, and that was it.
Is there a
And
reason? Is there sorry to cut you off. Is there a reason why we switched over from the bass boost? Because I think still back in the day you still had a pretty good chunky tone, but then
yeah,
we're stepping away from it. What made you want to switch?
so from switching to the PJ to the humbucker, which comes to actually the one of the other factors, which was my pedal effects pedal setup.
Okay. Okay.
My current pedal rig right now, I have quite the few. There's a few of them that I used for like some sort of special effects, like solos and stuff. But my 2 main tone pedals. Let's just talk about those 2 for a second. I
Yeah.
have a I have a bass driver pedal, and this pedal particularly is like a Tech 21 Sans amp pedal on a budget.
Nice.
It's
Oh.
the
Okay.
wine cellar bass driver. And
Okay.
so
Okay.
etching it out a little bit as well as with the Behringer CS400 Sustainer. Those are the 2 main tone pedals that I use.
Okay.
it's not that it wasn't. It's not that it wasn't good. It didn't that it like lacked in the low end. Excuse
Mm,
that. It's not that it lacked in the low end department.
yeah.
The high end was too loud. The
Ah,
high end was
got it.
way too clanky,
Okay.
and
Okay.
and in result made the low end kind of back itself down. And
Okay.
no matter how much I tried to like tune the high frequencies a little bit less, it
Yeah.
would still be very clanky and making my low end kind of decrease itself. So I was like, I gotta try something. I gotta try something that's better.
Yeah.
So the other day,
And your mid range suffers from that too because it's all
yeah,
high. Yeah.
yeah, because of all of that, even if I were to just plug in straight into the amp without my pedals and try to fiddle around with my amplifier's EQ, there was still a crap load of top end that it almost sounded like my mid range was scooped, even though on my amp the mid range is cranked all the way,
Okay.
like Lemmy
Okay.
Killmaster style. Okay, like cranked
Gotcha.
all the way. The low end is cranked, but the top end is almost overbearing with already the amount of low end and mid range I already have. It
Like
kind of
this. Almost like a
yeah,
yeah. 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 Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
that's where it kind of was. I was kind of aiming for like to visualize it. The kind of range I was kind of hoping for was something like this, a little bit of a dip in the mid range, but still a very nice even level with the low and highs. But the
Okay.
highs were like all the way up here, and it was too much.
It says, yeah, 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 that's yeah. Because I'm opposite. I'm like this. I'm literally a U. Because I'm
So
like
you
I
have all the lows and highs, but absolutely no mids.
no mid, no mid. Yeah, and I take out the mid again because it's a finger player. It's a finger thing,
Right.
because one of the things I learned from just watching a lot of bass players, and I think the best advice I've seen was from Marcus Miller, who was like, dude, if you're a finger player, don't even touch the mids. Don't even like it doesn't matter if you play jazz, metal, rock, whatever, just don't even touch
Right.
them. And I was like, okay, shit. And then lo and behold, that's where I got to find my sound too. So, when you're
Yeah.
like, dude, like let me get my highs ready, my mids nice and crisp, because your mids are fucking nice, dude. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm mids like that. And I'm pretty, and we're bass players, so like we'll listen to like guys from Tool or whatever. And you're like, dude, okay, that's good mids. And other
Yeah.
cats, they can't find it. They can't find it.
Right. Yeah, it takes a lot of experimentation to be able to find that really nice sweet spot in the mid range, because low range and the high range are one thing.
Yeah, yeah,
They're the ends of the like EQ spectrum, and if you got enough high end and low end, you're good.
yeah,
The sweet spot that helps the tonal attitude of your bass to stand out is where the mid range lies.
yeah,
So to really fiddle with it and try to find the sweet spot is really tough,
yeah,
because there's there's always going to be room for trying to either turning it down a little bit or maybe even turning it up a little more
the hair. Yeah,
to
yeah,
like yeah, exactly, just a hair, just to get it to stand out and
yeah,
blend well within a mix, both in the studio and live setting.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's how I try to think of it. I would tell myself, think of how you would want your bass to sound both in a studio mix
Yeah.
and a live mix.
Yeah. You have more liberties in the studio, I'm guessing, right? Because I mean, it's more
Yeah,
isolated. You get your,
yeah,
it's, the acoustics aren't really an issue, right? Especially if
no,
you're going direct, but I hear you when it comes to the live setting, like, or,
yeah,
because when I would do live shows, that's one of the things that would suffer for me. Because I mean, we didn't tune
right,
down low or anything, but, once I threw on the overdrive, my mid range comes up way too much. I'm like, shit, dude. Okay, so it just sounds like
yeah,
it just sounds like
yep,
just noise. Yeah. So I don't know how.
yeah. And as far as
Oh,
yeah, and as far as everything else with the rest of my tone for the rest of the factors,
yeah.
um the rest of my pedal board, I'll just go ahead and say I got other stuff that I use for just solos and whatever. There's a pitch shifter that I had. a delay. I have the Morley Power Wah Boost pedal, the 2020 edition, and I have a vintage overdrive tube screamer that is my distortion, because my driver pedal already packs a shit ton of low end and grit.
Okay.
And so to maybe turn it up a little bit and have more distortion, like if I were to go Lemmy style, I turn that on and maybe kind of wail out a bit of a solo or something. But that's as far as my pedals and effects.
Mm-hmm.
For the other factor, which was my strings. Now, I really had to be careful with the choice of strings, because while it is subject to the player, there are some things to keep into consideration, and that's how the bass is made. And I had to learn it the hard way, unfortunately. I didn't realize this until about half a year ago, like 5 months maybe. Like, you know how you look at your frets and you know they're made of different materials, whether if it's nickel plated steel frets or stainless steel. I used stainless steel strings for a little bit, and I didn't realize that using stainless strings would wear the absolute shit out of those frets. To where I eventually looked it up, and I was like, yeah, exactly. When I saw what it was doing to my frets, I was like, what the hell is happening? So I looked it up, and lo and behold, there were a lot of people saying that, they will eat away your frets for lunch. So I was like, okay, then I can't keep using stainless steels anymore, because the strings that I were using at the time before I saw that were Diodario's Pro Steels.
Those are crisp.
So good. So bright, so crispy. They sounded really good with overdrive or distortion, but my basses have nickel-plated steel frets. So I had to be really careful. So I went and did my research.
Yours is a bolt-on too, right? It's a bolt-on neck?
Yeah, it's bolt-on.
It's bolt-on. Okay. So yeah, it can take a little bit more of a pounding, but yeah, yours is up there.
Yeah, so I had to do my research from there and find out, okay, what's the best brand of strings that I can get that are seriously bright, have a nice low end, and that are really rounded as well. Because I also realized that there's a difference between stainless steel and nickel-plated steel. They both have different attitudes. Stainless steel, you have a little bit of a more scooped attitude. Nickel-plated steel are more rounded and more fluid. And when I picked those up, I was like, okay, this actually sounds more full, which was what I was looking for, a nice, full, gritty tone. And that's when I started recently getting into David Ellefson, when I was getting with the Jackson basses and all that. I finally picked up SITs, because those were the same strings that David Ellefson used. I picked those ones up, and I was like, these are the ones. And there were a couple of other ones that I've experimented that there's one I'm going to be going back to, which are the Fender NPS strings. I got those ones actually coming, I think today actually.
Nice.
I got a nice heavy gauge, because I got my new band coming out. That we're going to be doing some lower tune stuff.
I want to talk about that too, but we'll get to that. I want to talk about that too, but I want to talk about, like, kind of going back a little bit. What made you, I mean, maybe it's because you're a guitar player, but what made you want to use a pick instead of fingers? Because I've seen you use fingers in a couple of your videos, but
I do alternate between playing styles. For starting out as a pick player, there really wasn't any particular influence. It was just a transition out of habit.
Gotcha.
Because the kind of lessons I was getting at first when I was playing guitar, I was playing with the pick. I didn't even know fingerstyle was a thing.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay.
No. I didn't know fingerstyle was a thing at the time. And so I was like, okay, if I have to do this with the guitar, I got to do this on bass too. So I was just like, just going right then and there, just out of habit.
Gotcha.
I didn't even know slap was a thing, or fingerstyle, or even tapping. None of that.
Okay.
And so finally, when I got to learn about fingerstyle, and the very first time I learned about fingerstyle was when I discovered Cliff Burton of Metallica, God rest his soul.
Fucking the king, man. The reason why all of us are
Yes,
here.
right. All of us Cliff Burton tone chasers would be spending 20, $40 out of our own pocket just to get the same exact sound as him, but we never will.
Never will, dude.
Never will. We can only get so relatively close, but never exact. Because Cliff was a
yeah.
genius.
He was the Leonardo da Vinci dude. Because like when he came and when I heard For Whom the Bell Tolls, I was probably 16, 17, 18. I was a young cat. I was really young. I thought it was just guitar the whole time. I thought it was just a guitar player.
Everybody did. Everybody did.
Everybody did. And still, like, even in my early 20s, like, I want to be Cliff Burton. I want to look, I gotta get the Cliff Burton this. I gotta get the Cliff Burton that. But and I'm like, it's not sounding like Cliff. And I'm like, I had to come to the realization. And I think Cliff would something probably he would appreciate. And bass players like ourselves, like, dude, don't be that bass player. Be you. You know? Like, because Cliff Burton is Cliff Burton. You know what I mean? We have the influence, the love, the passion there from him, but you know, I'd rather just be Matt Mayhem. You know,
right.
it's
one thing to have the influence by the bass players in question. It's another to try to be exactly like them.
Exactly.
Because I've gone around and people would tell me like, "Oh my gosh, it's Jason Newsted," and everybody's comparing me to Jason. I'm like, guys, I'm not Jason. Chill the F out, dude.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I am heavily influenced by Jason, and with good reason. I loved his attitude. I loved his tones. I loved his playing style. Everything about him, his stage presence, musicianship, gold.
Yeah.
Absolute gold.
Yeah.
Granted, Cliff is way more skilled than Jason on a music theoretical level. No doubt about it. Jason was the guy for me, and that's where I felt I really felt myself. Because even when I knew about both bass players, Cliff and Jason, and then came Robert, it was really just about where you have those influences. Now take it, put it all together, and make it your own.
Blend it up, dude. Blend it up. You know
Blend it, yeah, exactly. Blend it and make it your own. I made all of my influences into my own sound. Hence the amazing bass tones that I've been getting out of myself recently. I still experiment to this day, and nowadays I don't like buy pedal after pedal anymore. I stick with what I have now, and I'll just try to like fiddle with every little preset I got, and that's about it. And it freaking works because I actually got one cover that I did just release earlier today, as a matter of fact, and this one was more of just a clean and heavy approach, no pedals, just straight plugged in. So even with all the crazy grit, distortion, and compressions and all that stuff, it's always nice to stray away a little bit and try something different to show how experimental you can be as a bass player.
Oh yeah, and I think that's super important because as a bass player, we have the fundamentals to be in everything, right? Like I'll take away some distortion and I'll mess around with some, with some jazz stuff, some blues stuff. You know what I mean? Look for those tones, and those tones, you feel even better because one of the like I mentioned Marcus Miller, right? He's one of my influences.
Yeah.
Not even a metal dude, not even close.
For me, it would be Victor Wooten.
Yeah, Victor Wooten too. Oh, that guy's a monster, dude. He's a monster. This
dude is crazy.
He's a beast, dude. But
he definitely helped me a lot with how to set the groove as well as learning how to tap.
Yeah,
I can say that.
Yeah. I mean, and him specifically, especially those guys, because I feel like those are top tier guys. You know what I mean? Those are guys who are just
very top tier.
You ain't touching that. You ain't touching that. But I love how they know. Okay, my tone is me. My how I am on stage, everybody know, they could just know that tone from him. I think Geddy Lee's like that too, guys like that, not in all genres too, to be able to just set a tone and just be like, okay, like you guys could just do more than that, right? You could do more. There's more to, like us guys, there's more to metal. Absolutely. Because when you got to go click, gotta go clean. I bet there's some tracks that you're gonna have to go clean. I go clean. I'm like, hey, okay, we gotta
Right.
learn how to set a nice groove, a nice foundation.
Yeah, exactly. There were some covers that I've done in the past if I remember correctly, I've done a couple where I didn't use any distortion, just
Yeah,
straight clean tone, and just fiddled with whatever EQ I had if I wanted to use like my neck pickup on my bass, or both, or maybe flip it to single coil mode or something, but no distortion.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, and I think what I think we're seeing a lot now, and you could ask, and I want to get your opinion on this because I kind of have like an inner dialogue sometimes where I'm like
Yeah,
I'm listening to these new cats, right? These new bass players that are coming out. Mainly the deathcore guys, maybe these other cats that are just it sounds too processed. And then when I say it sounds too processed, I mean it sounds like it's like it's got this like it's got a twang, but it's like it sounds more computerized, if you know what I mean. If you kind of see
right.
what I'm saying, where the distortion is just the high distortion is just way too much, where there's no more growl. So I mean, how do you feel about like
Right.
these new cats? What do you think? Like the dark glass stuff and all that.
Now, see, I actually like Dark Glass
Me too.
because as much as I understand what you're talking about with the very over processed bass tones,
Yeah,
for me, in some cases, and I'm not going to assume every in every case for all the new guys with the deathcore genres and that kind of thing, some some bass players in that perspective may not understand tone completely. They would just have the producer work on it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They would
Possibly.
mainly just leave it in the hands of the producer, which is not the worst idea. It's
I,
not the worst idea.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I agree with you.
But I have used Dark Glass in the past. I have used Dark Glass. Um, I did use it recently. I think it was like almost a year ago now. I had the Microtubes B3K
Okay.
pedal, the bass
Okay.
overdrive. I had that one for a little bit. It was a great pedal. Granted, it was a great pedal, but there was just something that about it that made it stand out a little too much.
Ah,
You know,
uh,
there's
uh-huh,
there's
uh-huh.
a there's a fine line when it comes to having a nice gritty tone, but to not cross that line to the point where, like, if you were to record something,
Mm,
whether if it's over processed through a computer or if you're just doing old fashioned miking like I do,
yeah, yeah,
there is a fine line that anybody, not even just bass players, that guitar players, drummers, anybody that uses some kind of instrument that involves distortion to avoid,
yeah,
because it's going to sound awful.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
sometimes for the bass players, if they don't understand that exactly and it's not their fault and they leave it into the hands of the producers, they got to be able to work together on it to be able to justify, okay, where the fine line of how we want the bass tone to sound.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because given the level of technology that we all have today,
Oh, yeah,
sure, even with even
yeah,
with it being over processed and being recorded through a computer, you can still get great sounds out of it
oh,
if
yeah,
you know what you're doing.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Especially you as the bass player yourself, if you know what you're doing and you feel like you would get that great tone through a DI box,
Yeah,
plugging it into a studio amp and doing whatever effects on there, and you could get a great tone out of it, great.
yeah,
And maybe even get a producer to help you, like, make some uh give some 2 cents and possibly do some experimentations here and there. For some other bass players, they may choose not to because there could be a number of reasons why. Either they just prefer not to or they don't know how to. For
yeah,
me, I
yeah,
prefer both. I don't personally know exactly under I personally don't understand 100% of how I can plug it into a DI box and get a good bass tone to stand out, as far as having that great low end and all that grit and distortion and high end treble and stuff like that. That's why I do old fashioned miking, because it's easier for me to just get it right on the spot
Yeah, yeah,
and fix it later
yeah, yeah, yeah.
if it needs to be fixed.
Exactly, exactly. I think it's kind of like what you're saying. To each their own. It's an each.
Yeah.
Because these and again, I'm not trying to throw any shade or anything. I love the tone where it fits in the mix. You know what I mean? But when I'm seeing these like, these YouTubers, these TikTok guys, I'm like, wow, dude, it's really scratchy. Like it sounds really like the compression is through the roof. You know what I mean? And
Right.
like, I mean, like for me especially, I mean, like I said, you've heard my tone. I'm more of like, the Sabbath stuff, the stoner metal stuff.
Yeah.
That type of stuff where I'm
You
like,
like you like that nice chunky tubey overdriven tone pretty much.
yeah, dude, yeah, because for my then just my musical career, I've always played with one guitar player. I've never had to work with
Yeah.
another guitar player, so I never had that battle of
Right.
like, oh, hey, just stand over there and just be an Ian Hill,
And
like,
trying to be level, right.
yeah, yeah,
Now
exactly,
see
yeah,
now see that's where I would feel if I were to get into that situation, on why I would play with a pick and have the stuff that I use now.
yeah,
Because hell, even if I did just work with one guitar,
yeah,
if the stuff that I have sounds good, but maybe if it's too loud as far as just output goes,
yeah,
maybe I'll just turn it down a volume, or just have the guitarist turn it up one volume and see where it fits well.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because if if between myself and however many guitarists are there in the group, if they know how to get the right sound and not be too loud and find where we can all fit in,
yeah.
then we're set. Nothing needs to be changed.
Yeah. It's got to be that good compromise. It's got to be that good, like, even like Iron Maiden is probably the kings of that, right? I think Iron
Yeah.
Maiden, of course. I mean, we could talk. We could do a whole episode on Iron Maiden, but you know, we could do a whole talk on Iron Maiden. But I mean, on the sense of understanding where we are in a mix, I think especially like how, like I was saying, just me, like I wanted to be okay, like, as a bass, where I'm an entity, right? I want to show like, okay, the drums are pounding, the guitar is wailing. Where am I? Right? Where am I? Okay, well, we're heavy
Right.
metal. I
We're
gotta,
bringing the thunder. That's what we're
yeah,
doing.
yeah, we're
We're bringing the thunder.
like a Gene Simmons, dude. We're like, just that tone, just we're in there. We're in the mix, no matter what. So that's why, like,
Yep.
like when you were talking about Cliff and stuff, I'm like, dude, of course, Cliff is like, he's, the Jesus Christ of it. But like for me, it goes to like a Geezer Butler. You know what I mean? You're like how
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about? Like you got the Jason Newsted, like these newer cats that were innovating more. I go even before that. I go even more old school, where I'm talking about, the Geezer Butler, the John Paul Jones. You know what I mean? Those guys
yes.
were the original Thundercats, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think it's important to, like, especially like, because me, I'm not using pedals anymore. I'm just using everything direct. I don't got the room. I don't got the stuff for it, but I love just messing around online and just like, hey, there's this new, plugin, or this is new stuff or whatever. And then, kind of just mix and match from there. I use the easy mix, and I use the bias effects from Positive Grind. And just, dude, that's how I'm able to get that tone from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, okay. So kind of talk to me about the band, man.
Yeah.
So two bands now, or are we still with
No,
no one band?
no, see,
Okay,
it's just the one band. I've gone through a couple of different other bands in the past,
gotcha.
and I ended up leaving them because, for a plethora of reasons, it all came down to one, things end up bad, like in bad blood, which happened actually with one band, and then other times where it's just like nothing's happening. We're not making any progress because we could be in the state of trying to make music,
Yeah.
but nothing happens because other stuff keeps happening on the outside of it, and we get set back.
Uh-huh. Is
And the first time,
sorry to interrupt. Sorry, was that the one that I
yeah,
replied to? Is that the one that I guess there was some drama, there's some band drama that was happening, some band situations, and then you were like, hey, we gotta let you go, and then there was some conflict with that. Is that the same, is that a different band, or is that the same band?
well, that's one of the that is one of the bands because I've only been through two other bands, but
Okay.
that one that you're talking about was I didn't have any bad blood with any of the other members.
Mhm.
It was just one of the guys, and I even explained this on TikTok, but it all happened where our drummer just decided to pretty much be a douche
Okay. Yes.
over over
I remember.
over over a call out because the our vocalist, the vocalist at the time, she said she couldn't make it to practice, and it was the day before. She explained herself, and instead of just explaining his frustrations maturely, he
Yeah.
just decided to just go all out on this power trip and curse her out in the group chat. And I'm like, dude, what the hell is your problem?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Like,
feel.
if like,
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's that elitist part. You know what I mean? It's that
yeah,
I'm in a band
and
and you.
and I
Yeah.
right, and that's the other kicker too. This wasn't his band. This
Uh,
was her band that she brought him in and brought me in. So I'm over here like, dude, you going over here talking to her like that
uh,
instead of being mature about it when this isn't even your band to begin with.
mhm.
You have no place to be in a band
Yeah.
because on one side, yes, he is committed in being in a band. He does take it seriously, but it's the way he treats
Too
it's the way
serious.
he treats it.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
little too seriously to the point where if like somebody dares to miss one practice, then he would have that mindset of like, oh, we're fucked. We're never gonna be good. We're never gonna make it. Like, I don't. It's so weird because
I don't know.
that's what I realized. That's the way he goes about it, and I'm like, dude, like it's only happened like two other times that
Uh,
she's had to call out. It was a total of three times where she's had to let us know that, hey, I can't make the practice because X, Y, and Z.
uh,
And we put in a good enough amount of practice when I was with the group at the time because they've
yeah.
been around for about a year or two already.
Mhm.
And at that point, I was just like, okay, yeah, look, you are very committed into being in with a band and you take it seriously, but you can't go around and cursing somebody out just because they miss practice.
Doesn't work that way,
Like,
man.
that's not the way to go. That's not the way to go about it. That is somebody that I refuse to work with.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
don't care. I don't care if it's his band or if it's my band. I will not work with that kind of person. I don't care who it is, and it doesn't matter what they play, who they are. If you go around and cussing either at me or somebody else within that band just because we dared to happen to miss one practice because of something that happens outside of it, because God forbid we have lives outside the band. No,
Yeah.
that's a big red flag for me.
It's
I
it's
will not put up with that.
as my other job as a therapist. I see
Right.
I see that more as just it's a deeper issue. You know what I mean? There's a
Yeah.
deeper issue, of course, obviously, and I don't want to turn this into a fucking therapy session or whatever. But I mean, the fact that there's people and you're knowing too, and I see that's why I went solo, right? That's why I was like, hey, you
Yeah.
know what? Let me find guys that can shred, that are respectful, that are professional, that are ready to handle business, have fun, and be open
Yeah.
to interpretation than just be like, okay, this is my project, you know what I mean, or this is the band, and that we're at, and it's like, dude,
Yeah.
that type of mentality is not going to get you anywhere, man. The ones
No,
that
it
are
isn't.
successful, no, no, no. So I mean,
And
that's
that,
why I feel so bad when you posted. I was like, dude, that sucks because dude, people have families. Like, I got two girls. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
it's like it
Right.
doesn't work.
Like, yes, yes, I am devoting my life to this band, but and there are going to be some sacrifices that will have to come along with it, but there are still some other stuff that I cannot let go of.
Correct. Yeah.
Cannot, will not. Like, there's other stuff that I have to put first before I put the band first.
Yeah, yeah. It's the boundaries. It's the boundaries and the expectations that are within the band, right? It's like, dude,
Yeah.
full respect,
and
dude.
it's got to be kept within the band and
Yeah.
not anywhere else. It
Oh yeah.
must be kept within the band, otherwise it's going to go to shit.
Do you feel like, and let me ask you, because I know you've put out some stuff, you do a lot, you're very active, and I want to ask you, and I'm kind of seeing it too, maybe because I'm involved with it as well, but more of a rise of like the distant bands. So when I'm referring to that is like myself, I have, my one of my guitar players that does the guitars for me, he's in Connecticut. Harry, the guy who does the vocals for me, the motherfucker's in England. you know like it's like we have a beautiful way because of technology, like how you said, we have technology to fucking bring us together.
Right.
But do you think that's, I just want to hear your opinion. Like, would you think that's where it's going to go? Where like, damn, dude, like if I can't have somebody here in my city, I'm going to have somebody over here to help me out because I vibe with them better.
Honestly, I can't exactly put my thumb on it because I never actually took the opportunity to push myself in that direction
Gotcha.
because my past
Okay.
experiences with that have never ended well, to where I
Mm,
have been telling myself, you know what, it's not working for me to just have a group to where I just connect with them like around the country, let alone around the state, and we can't meet up in person.
yeah.
There's there's something that I feel that is missing. There's that chemistry that isn't the same to where it's doing stuff online than it is in
Yeah.
person.
No, I
Because I
gotcha.
feel like like look at all the bands that that have that have gone through as late as the early 2000s,
Yeah.
despite the technology that we have.
Yeah.
Like, no, there is not. I guarantee you, there's probably not a single band that I've heard of as far as just the early 2000s from our era that
Mhm.
have started online and just kept it going from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All these bands that we know have maybe met online, but kept going in person because they have that level of commitment to where they know they need to be together in person to make things work. They know they can't just sit at home and just open up a computer and just put something together in a span of a single day.
Yeah. Yeah.
It takes time.
Yeah.
It takes more than just a single day to be able to make something like that happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, as much as there are some people that I follow that I'm mutual with have made that happen,
Mhm.
it's all down to the matter of, I guess I would just have to say, the personal perspective of what they
Yeah.
choose to do, of what works for them.
Yeah.
So if they're a solo artist and they feel like they're better off with making project after project with just anybody,
Mhm.
and they're successful doing it, then have at it.
Mhm.
But for me, I want to be in the room with people to where I can be able to talk face to face and be like, okay, here's what the breakdown's gonna sound like,
Uh-huh.
or here's here's how we should open up this kind of song.
Mhm.
I want to be able to work face to face with people and be able to make the right calls using our ears and listening and thinking like, okay, let's do this, cut it in half, and blah blah blah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You know,
So more of an intimate setting is what I'm hearing. You
pretty
want
much.
more of the personal touch, right? Where yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like things work out smoothly that way.
Mhm.
Because then trying to do something online with people, you end up having to wait on somebody.
Yeah.
That's one of the parts that kills me,
Ah,
unfortunately, and I hate to say that because
yeah, yeah,
one
yeah.
of my most recent videos that I posted was my Halloween special.
Uh-huh.
That crap took me a month to make, and it was just doing one song.
Yeah, yeah,
It was
yeah.
just doing one song. It took a month to put together because I reached out to a total of 6 people.
Mhm, mhm.
And finally, after putting it together, I was able to at least have it done before my predicted deadline,
Mhm.
at, to say the least. But if I'm really wanting to have that serious level of a band to where I want to be able to make music, make an album, go around touring, I need to have it in person because that way I can get something down with being able to work with those people closely
Yeah.
to get a better understanding of how we work together, what we can do together,
Hmm.
and how good we can do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you want it's kind of like what I was saying a little bit more on the sense of like the personal chemistry, right? We're looking for more
Yeah,
that personal, yeah. Because like me writing the EP that I just released, it it took a while. It took some time. I'm not gonna lie to you. It took maybe a year and a half to really get it to where I wanted to go. And that's adding the time of like learning how to record, how to master all that stuff. You know what I mean?
right.
And having people come over, and record and putting out singles and stuff just to, get people to listen, get people, so I see what you're saying. I think it's very personalized. It's very like, hey, like, I do want that chemistry, but at the same time, I'm like, fuck, like,
Yeah,
I'm in Southern California. I'm like, dude, everybody wants to do a certain type of music. Everybody wants to stick a certain way, and it's just not. It's not for me, especially being a family man now. It's like it's so much harder. So I'm like, hey, I'll just
right.
use.
Because
Yeah,
yeah, because of course you got your own thing to look out for outside of that.
correct. Yeah, 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 for
So
sure. Yeah,
being having to multitask
yeah,
with stuff like with stuff as what's the word, to be able to multitask with stuff that as intense as making music
yeah.
and maintaining a family. Yeah, it takes a lot of effort.
It
It
does.
takes a lot of effort.
It really does, man. It really does. I want it like it was a battle. Um Not within just like the family, like because my family, my daughters are very supportive, my wife is very supportive, but it's just like the time, you know what I mean? Kind of like how you're saying, like
Yeah,
because I gotta wait on my guitar player, I gotta wait on the vocals, and to me, I'm not I like, and you could ask any of the guys that I work with, when we're putting together music, I'm not in a rush. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to rush them. I just want to be appreciative and I want to be grateful for the fact that I can work with them, right? And I like or like
yeah,
we're talking to you, because I want to just be like, okay, dude, that's how you get the best results. That's how you get the best, you know, sound. That's how you get the best songs. That's how you get the best songwriting. And that's why I was like, hey, let me ask Mr. Bubba what his take is on that, because I'm starting to see more and more bands. I got a guy that I follow on Instagram too, who's he's in Japan, and I forgot the band's name, but he's in Japan and his buddies are somewhere in California or something like that. And they're and
oh wow,
yeah, and they're writing music, and I'm like, that's fucking awesome. I'm like I
yeah,
just I just like the either or, like how you said, the personal touch, or for me, we're writing something, and I know
yeah,
that's the important thing, dude. And if we get hurt, that's a different story. It's just putting it in people's ears,
right,
but it's what we're here for.
yeah, exactly. Because that's one thing that I really look for is to be able to just have just be able to have everybody ready to go right then and there
Yeah,
when we're all coming in and being like, okay, are we ready to get to work working on this next piece? Let's pick a date, pick a time. That way we can all get together, set ourselves up, and we're ready to go.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
I like
perfect.
I like to keep everything quick and efficient. You
Yeah.
know,
Okay.
not going to the point where I am trying to rush anybody because I don't want to rush anybody either.
Correct.
But to
Correct.
where
Correct.
we're not spending too much time on something that shouldn't be taking that much time. If
No,
that
I got.
makes sense.
I know. I think what you're trying to say is more efficiency. You like more of the
Yes.
efficiency. Yeah. 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 Because
Yes.
because I mean, you're not taking away from the songwriting, or you're not taking away from the production part of it. You're just like, hey, no, no, no. I mean, if we got this done, what's the second part to it, or what do we need to
Right.
do to make it going? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
all of that stuff would be, and because that's all the stuff we would just end up worrying about when we get to the studio.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
not we're not like I'm not like having to reach out to anybody and be like, hey, how did this part sound? Or were you able to work on this? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
That would be just stuff that we could just work on when we get to the studio, where I would just end up calling up everybody and be like, already, are we good for today? Or do we need to make it tomorrow? And then when we're set, we go over there and go through everything right then and there. So that way we have like an agenda of what we're going to be working on for that day that we're there.
Yeah.
So that way, when we're through with working on all that, we can pick up on whatever's left over and move on to the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so, dude. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's how I wanted it. But, maybe in the near future, hopefully I could get to that level. you
Yeah,
know, I mean, I got some stuff to works, and I know, you got stuff. But tell me. I know we're a little bit out on time. I know you got to get to work and stuff. But I want to know,
yeah.
tell me about the other band. What's it? What's the direction? What's the sound? What's something that we could look forward to?
So my current band that I'm putting together, Artificial Ignorance, is more of I'm towards the metalcore type sound. I like breakdowns. I'll tell you that right now. I like breakdowns. I like heavy.
Okay.
I like some fast. I'm trying to be a bit experimental with the type of styles I'm looking to make music with,
Yeah.
between like metalcore, thrash metal, some new metal styles, some just kind of alternative heavy, a little bit of everything in between from those kind of styles. But
Mhm.
it's gonna be a lot of heavy, very uh early 2000s kind of sound,
Oh, nice. Okay. 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 So
and maybe a
something.
little bit of some stuff from some of the new stuff today. Because and what I mean by that, I'll name a couple bands for example. I kind of like to put stuff together from the likes of bands of Megadeth, System of a Down, Ice Nine Kills,
Okay.
groups like that.
Okay. Okay. So the a good mix. Like we're talking like a good mix of it. Yeah. Because
Yeah, a good mix of stuff like that.
when you say early metalcore stuff, like immediately in my head, I was thinking, the first Kill Switch, As I Lay Dying,
Oh yeah, yeah, that
that,
stuff too.
that type of stuff, and I'm like, damn, it's like it's old school, but it's not old school, you know.
Right.
It's like, oh yeah, yeah, okay, okay. So
Yeah,
it was good
because
stuff.
of course we're talking about being able to have the influences of these kind of things and be able to just blend it together and make it our own. That's kind of
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do here, and just base it off what I would say is a very metalcore focused sound.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's cool. Anything on recording it? We're just putting the band together? We're just
Right now
focused.
it's just putting the band together, because I got a guitar player who knows how to write and also knows how to sing.
Okay.
I'm preferably wanting to have at most two guitar players,
Mhm.
and I've been kind of being a little iffy on if I have to get a separate vocalist if the person that I got now doesn't want to do guitar and vocals at the same time. Granted, if he does want to do, he can do that, no problem. I'll just have to get another vocalist as well as the drummer. But other than that, we're pretty much just stuck at that point right now.
Early stages.
I Yeah, early stages. I'm just trying to get whatever members I can together and possibly hook a time to where we can all meet in a studio and be like, all right, let's see how we work together. Let's see how we all connect and how we can make music,
Yeah, yeah,
how we can make some good shit.
yeah, dude. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it, man. I know
Hell yeah.
that the influence you said Megadeth and System of a Down. I'm like, dude, that's a unique mix right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Like I
unique mix.
said, I'm trying to be as unique as possible. I'm trying to be my own. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to be my own because I already got that down with as a bass player with finding my signature sound and the type of styles that I've worked with. Now I just got to do that in a band setting. I
Yeah.
got to be able to apply that with the type of players that I'm working with the type of sounds that we're going to make, all of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to hearing it, man. I know you're gonna be active. I know you're gonna be putting it out, dude. I know you're gonna be letting people know. right? You
Oh
know,
yeah,
so I'm
I
looking
will.
forward. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know where to find me.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah. But all right, brother. I know you got to run. I appreciate your time, man. You
yeah.
know, this was fun,
No,
dude.
this was fun.
This was
This
great.
was.
I
I'm actually grateful that you reached out to me. I'm
uh,
actually grateful of that. This was actually an absolute pleasure.
this was fun, dude. We got to do it again.